Good evening, Saints. I'd like to take this time to welcome you back to another update with Lighthouse Beams Ministry. Now, in this presentation, we'll be looking at the topic of Jab. I do not want to go into a lot of current events and as to what it contains and everything. Although we'll briefly look at some things, but my perspective of these presentations will be a Adventist look on vaccinations. And there's recently a letter that came out on December 20 last year, 2020. And there's caused confusion. Some people say that did Ellen White take the vaccine? Should we take the vaccine? What is the biblical standing? How should we approach this? And I would like to take a route, a Christian route, an Adventist route, because we are big on a health message. We were given, the spirit of prophecy told us that health message is something that we have to bear. It's the right hand of the gospel. Now, if you see the anti-message, there are two big things from what I see. The Sunday law message, which is a three angels message. But you cannot separate the three angels message with the message, health message, because that is the right hand of the gospel. So, Sunday law and two, health message. The health message is the door, opening door, which brings us to other people to communicate, to communicate the truth to them. That is the door. Now, if that is true, then guess what? The devil also will want to get involved in health. Now, there is a tactic that the devil uses, fear tactic, fearing people, but that comes as the opposite of what God does. You see, when Jesus was on earth, he was a great medical missionary worker, and by doing medical missionary workers, he was touching the very life of people. And when he touched the life of the people, lastly when he said, "Follow me," there was no rejection whatsoever. They followed him immediately, knowing that he desired the good. Now, the devil, he works in a strange way. He first presents an alternate way in which he can help you and touch your life. But he goes to the extent that he tries to threaten people that if they do not accept, he will force them to accept it. So, you see the play that we are involved in this great controversy. While God wants to save a group of people in the last generation, saving their life, the devil pretends to save people's life, touch people's life. Now, this is not surprising because we know that the spirit of prophecy tells us that the devil has been working as scientists in laboratories, developing, working with nature to come up with things that are very harmful for us. Now, I'd like to show that this is what happened. What we are seeing now is also what happened in 1888. Now, most people know that there was a Blair Bill about to be signed in the United States, which would bring about the Sunday law, but it was revoked because one of our own men, God has used him, A.T. Jones, to stand before Congress and tell them, no, this is destroying of a person's liberty of conscience. So Sunday law was rejected. Now, another thing that was pushed forward around the same time was vaccinations. So the two things again, Sunday law being pushed and global mandatory vaccinations. Now, I'll show you the same thing, but there was a video that last time I wanted to play that it didn't work out well. So I want to play it for you again to show where this movement is heading. Firstly, the Sunday laws.
This imperative for care also extends to the teaching about resting on the Sabbath day, which is for human beings also to preserve creation. Indeed, from the book of Deuteronomy, related with the book of Genesis, Sabbath has a sense of liberation, has the sense of giving respite and rest to any other system, any system that is oppressed and that lives in bondage.
Now, this is where the papacy is heading, bringing in the Sunday law. In this same thing actually happens in around 1888 as well, but they brought it under the disguise of common good, which is a Catholic social doctrines, common good, what is good for the community, for everyone. There was one of the things that was brought in, but in Parliament as well, there was a push for mandatory vaccinations. And you know what? The very person who was preaching the message of righteousness by faith, Wagner, remember, on the question of religious liberty, Jones was addressing it in Parliament, but the Sunday law issue. But there was an issue on vaccinations as well. And look at what he said from the Present Truth, Volume 18, January 1902. Elder Wagner said, the Church Times, commenting on the failure of the proposal in Parliament to make vaccinations universally compulsory, says, if there is anything in vaccination statistics or is believed to be a safeguard against the disease of smallpox, it is absurd to allow the conscientious objector to roam at large. So they said that if we see that vaccination is good to fight against smallpox, why do we let the conscientious objector to roam around in public? Now we're going to see Wagner's reasoning. He said, he is a great danger to the community as a mad dog. Now that is what he said. They said, without expressing my opinion as to the value of vaccinations, it seems evident that such language as this breathes the very spirit of Roman Catholic Inquisition. If it is considered absurd to allow the conscientious objector to the opinion of the majority on the subject to roam at large, the next step would be to cage the conscientious dissenters from the established church. So what basically he's saying is, if they start doing that, now what will prevent them from taking away the liberty of a person who goes against the established church? You see where he's going with that. Removing of religious liberties from people. If it is, where are we? And a question arises here. If vaccinations be indeed a safeguard against smallpox, now listen to, I'm very interested in his reasoning here. If vaccination is indeed a safeguard against smallpox, how can a conscientious objector be as dangerous as a mad dog? Now, why does he say that? What harm could he do in a community of vaccinated persons? Now, that is very true, a logical idea. If a person says that, your neighbor says that for his good, he wants to be healthy, and if he believes that vaccination is good, then take the vaccine. And then what damage would you do to your neighbor? I mean, that's simple as that. So there is no use of mandating it upon people. What they are just doing is exercising their power to remove freedom of conscientious freedom, or freedom of conscience. Now, we're going to go into the article that was published on the Advent Review. And this supposedly speaks for the Adventists in higher places, higher ranks. It's the voice of the church. But I want to show you some things that I need that kind of seems contradictory. This is taken from Advent Review, December 18, 2020. COVID-19 vaccines addressing concerns. Offering counsel. Now this is offering of counsel. It says, Seventh-day Adventists look to the coming of Christ as the great culmination of history and the end of all disease, suffering, and death. At the same time, we have been entrusted with the Advent health message embodied and expanded upon by the writings of Ellen White, summarizing healthful living through practical and holistic healthy lifestyle behavior. Now, there is nothing wrong here. I do not find anything wrong. This is what we believe. This is what we work for. Now, look at this second part. It says, we advocate all of these practices to maintain a healthy immune system, and in the pandemic, even more is needed. Ellen White was not only an inspired conduit of health information much ahead of her time, but she modeled practical prevention in the face of a lethal disease in her era, smallpox, and took the immunization herself, as did those close to her. Today, smallpox have been globally eradicated. Now, these are the things we're going to see. What he's saying is that Ellen White supported vaccination. Not only supported, they said she got it and she told those around her to get it. And the question is, where did they get this information? I mean, it has to be somewhere in black and white so that all of us could see that and know that surely she supported the idea. Now, so far they tell us that was taken from concerning, you see the quotations there, concerning vaccination against smallpox. D. Robinson, it is taken from the D. Robinson's account, a letter that he wrote. One of Ellen White's secretaries, under the date of June 12, 1931, wrote as follows concerning Mrs. White's attitude towards vaccinations. So supposedly, this guy was a secretary for Ellen White for over a decade, and they assumed that he knew something about vaccinations. Ellen White estate, they wrote to him so that he could give a response concerning what Ellen White said in regards to the question of vaccination. And this was the response that he gave. He said she supported it. Now we're going to see what he actually said in his letter. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'm going to read the part that is found in selected messages. But let's continue with that quotations from Advent Review. It says, from a distinct perspective, another speculative view urges that vaccinations make those who take them unclean because supposedly unclean substances are used to produce them. In this regard, it should be clarified that the abiding biblical instructions forbidding the consumption of unclean food and blood, taken from those verses, do not apply to vaccinations for the obvious reason that vaccines are produced as medication to save lives, not to serve as food. Now, friends, let me tell you this. This is contradictory. What's the difference between taking it as a medication and taking it as food? I mean, who was it that said, let medicine be your food and food be your medicine? This is what's supposed to be for us. There are some laws. From what I see, I'll express it. Firstly, the spirit of prophecy talks about the 8 laws of hell. Those, if we practice it perfectly and well, we wouldn't even get sickness in the first place. That is rule number 1. Now, in the case that you get the sickness, we have to study from cause to effect. That's what the spirit of prophecy tells us. And then after seeing from the cause to effect, we have nature to produce or to help us. God created herbs for the service of man. That's what Psalms tells us. Herbs, not drugs. Now we're going to see what Ellen White says about drugs as well. But herbs was given to us. Now, I, not being a doctor, in a case that there is no knowledge of herbal remedies, I would rather permit to some extent for the saving of life. But when it comes to the question of vaccines, I see a very serious problem with it. Now, in the case that there is a problem and no one in the area knows anything about natural treatment, and if I lack the knowledge of natural treatments, perhaps I would use some knowledge, but it has to come with some investigation and searching out of what we are actually putting into our body so that it saves life rather than destroys it. Now, so you see the order. First of all, abstain from that which is bad and moderately take that which is good so that you totally prevent sickness and following the 8 laws of health. Secondly, if there be sickness, study from cause to effect and then give herbs as cure. Now, in the case that there is no doctor or no proper knowledge of how to treat it in a way with natural remedy, then perhaps we can allow for it, but we can allow for some use of drugs, but that has to come with some proper investigation, and you should know what you're putting into your body. That is so far what I have found from my studies. But the question of vaccination, before we go into that, let's finish the article. Second, selected messages, page 303, it says, you will be interested, let me put it up on the screen. You will be interested to know, however, this is from D. Robinson, that at the time when there was an epidemic of smallpox in the vicinity, she herself was vaccinated and urged her helpers, those connected with her, to be vaccinated. In taking this step, Sister White recognized the fact that it has been proven that vaccinations either renders one immune from smallpox or greatly lightens its effect of one if one does come down with it. She also recognized the dangers of exposing others if they fail to take these precautions. And then he signed off the letter. Now, you can go and search out these letters and ask the Ellen White Estate to provide you with the letter that they actually, D. Robinson's account. It never provides a reference as to where he got that information. And now this leaves us wondering, did she really said that? If she did, then where is it in the spirit of prophecy? Now, let us go to another case. I want to show you an interesting letter that he wrote like 15 years ago. Before that 1931 letter, she wrote another letter when Ellen White was alive. And that letter, what did he say concerning the question of vaccinations? I'm going to put it on the screen for you to see. Your letter addressed to Mrs. E.G. White came to an end several weeks ago. I mentioned the letter to her one day, but was unable to get anything definite. Now, that's strange, because in the 1929 letter, there was a definite answer. Well, she got it and she gave it to everyone around her and she encouraged it. But here in 1915, she did not give any definite answer. Sister White's writing contained the broad principle what should guide us in all our work. When it comes to details However, it is necessary for us to study this and to come to our own conclusions. Owing to our finite limitations, we do not always see alike on some of these methods. When I was young, now this is where he explains a situation that happened in his life. When I was a young man, I was vaccinated and had quite a serious time. This led me to feel that vaccination was wrong. So he himself had an experience with vaccination and said, vaccination to me, I see that it is wrong because I felt that it is wrong because when I received it when I was young, I got serious side effect. Now, but consider him continuing. On the other hand, I felt differently about it when I heard of the death in India of my uncle, D.A. Robinson, who had refused to be vaccinated. Others who had been vaccinated were very closely associated with him, and they either escaped the disease entirely or had it in a very mild form. Before he died, he stated that if he had it to do over again, he would certainly be vaccinated. Now see the last concluding part, the underlined part. We certainly should not trust to any of these remedies which may be good in themselves to the exclusion of such simple treatments as is outlined in the instruction given to us as a people. Now he concluded on a high note. He said that we shouldn't neglect the simple treatments given to us by the spirit of prophecy. Wow, what a very interesting letter, where Ellen White never says a single thing supporting vaccination, and where he concludes by saying we should take the simple treatments and remedies. I wonder what changed. Did Ellen White change before she died? Now let us see one of Ellen White's son's letter concerning the question of vaccinations. Dear Brother Kellogg, I hold in my hands your letter of January 20 asking if I can tell you what the attitude was of Ellen G. White towards vaccinations. She regarded it as a perplexing question. Now, that to me does not tell me that it is a definite thing that she knew. It's a perplexing question. Now let's go further. I do not remember of her ever saying or writing that she had special instruction regarding vaccination. In my earlier days, she spoke of it as something dangerous and related to my own experience. See this part. She said that as a child, I was perfectly healthy until I was vaccinated, and by that, my health was much impaired. Mother listened attentively to the arguments that the methods of vaccination have been improved, and when in our travels we were brought to a large city where smallpox was raging and the matter was discussed as to whether or not that I and my associate should be vaccinated, she offered no objection, and in view of the argument of physician that it was not only for our own safety but for the safety of others, I and my associates were vaccinated. Now this is supposedly where they got the idea that Ellen White was vaccinated and she encouraged those around her to get vaccinated. Look at what a son wrote. She said that it was a dangerous thing. Mother was teaching the children when they were young, you were healthy until you got vaccinated. And this was in his head. And then when that situation came up, she did not say, I am here and my associate. Ellen White refused to get vaccinated, although she was there and although she showed no objection. They got it. Now, is it a clear sign that she got vaccination? No. This could mean two things. One, well, the medications of now has improved, so you can just have it. I choose not to have it. Or, if what he said is true, she considered it as a dangerous thing that affected his life when he was small. It could be saying, I do not recommend harmful and toxic substances in the body, but if you want it, fair enough, do it your way. It's not that she said that thing. She never said that thing, but she just simply did not show any objection. In her mind, Willie White being the son, probably she must have thought, you know what I have to say about vaccination and how dangerous it is. If you want to take it, you can take it, but I won't be taking it. And I believe that is the case. Now, so what does he say concerning vaccinations? Let us see from Spiritual Gift, Volume 4, page 133, paragraph 1, it says, I was shown that more deaths have been caused by drug taking than from all other causes combined. If there was in the land one physician in the place of thousands, a vast amount of premature mortality would be prevented. Multitudes of physicians and multitudes of drugs have cursed the inhabitants of the earth and have carried thousands and tens of thousands to untimely grave. Wow, friends, if what she's saying is true, then drugs itself, the medication that we are taking, is one of the highest causes of deaths in the world. Can you think about that? One of the highest causes of death. Now, what does he has to say about the harmful substances like mercury and all those toxins that we put into our body that almost all vaccinations have? This is what he said. Medical Ministry, page 227, paragraph 5. Drug medication is to be discarded. On this point, the conscience of the physician must ever be kept tender and true and clean. The inclinations to use poisonous drugs, which kills if they do not cure, needs to be guarded against. Which kills if they do not cure. Now that is why I said you have to have an investigation into it and see if it really cures or not. Drugs which kill if they do not cure need to be guarded against. Matters have been laid open before me in reference to the use of drugs. Many have been treated with drugs and the result have been death. Our physicians, by practicing drug medication, have lost many cases that need not have died if they had left their drugs out of their sick rooms. Now, this is very clear. Ellen White, in no case did she ever recommended drugs. In no case. Always she went against drug. This is where she talks about the toxic substances. Spiritual Gifts, Volume 4, page 139, paragraph 2. Mercury, calomel, and quinine have brought their amount of wretchedness, which the day of God alone will fully reveal. Preparations from mercury and calomel taken into the system ever retain their poisonous strength as long as there is a particle of it left in the system. This poisonous preparation and have destroyed their millions and left sufferers upon the earth to linger out a miserable existence. All are better off without this dangerous mixture. Miserable sufferers with disease in almost every form is shapen by suffering. Some examples: with dreadful ulcers and pains in the bones, loss of teeth, loss of memory, and impaired sight are to be seen almost everywhere. Friends, she is strongly recommending against the taking in of harmful substances. It's very clear. And what did she say? It is one of the highest cause of death, the taking in of drugs. Now, someone would say, well, that is some time ago in the 1800s. Now we have developed. Well, look at this report that was done in 2004. This was done by someone by the name of Peter C. Kodzes. How prescription drugs kills us in a large number. And I have the total complete article, but you can get it from the quotation. I put it below as well, the link. The title states, a prescription drug kills us in large numbers. Right from the abstract it says, our prescription drugs are the third leading causes of death after heart disease and cancer in the United States and Europe. Around half of the death, around half of those who die have taken their drugs correctly. What does it say? Half of the dead have been taken by those who take the drugs correctly, as prescribed by the doctor. Friends, can you see what the spirit of prophecy said is actually true, proven by research? If only a little research could be done. And this is where someone decided to do it. Half of the people, that's the third leading cause, and half of that population was caused by true prescription drugs. The other half died because of errors, such as too high a dose or use of a drug despite contraindications. Our drug agencies are not particularly helpful as they rely on fake fixes, which are a long list of warnings, precautions, and contraindications for each drug, although they know that no doctor can possibly master all of these. Friends, who would want to sit you down and explain you all the list of contraindication and side effects? And who says that? You go to them, they'll give you the medications. I mean, you rarely find a doctor explaining to you the side effects before giving you. But you know what? The next quotation, the second point, it says, any drugs can come with 20, 30, and 40 warnings, contraindications, and precautions, and no doctor can possibly master all of this. You see, 20, 30, 40 harmful substances, contraindications, sitting you down and explaining you through everything. They do not have time for that. They're never going to do that. Now, States and Europe, around half of those who die have taken the drugs correctly, and the other half die because of errors. Now, that's the same thing that we saw. So, what do we see here? Taking of drugs is one of the greatest killers. It doesn't save lives. It kills. That's why, first, taking in of healthful substances and following the 8 laws of health. That solves all the problems. Secondly, if you have sickness, study from cause to effect and take in herbs, natural substances, natural remedies to cure. Now, thirdly, is in the case that there is no medical missionary, nowhere who knows how to treat it, and if you yourself are not a medical doctor who know how to treat that in a natural way, I would say it is permissible to some extent, but there is still disadvantage attached to it. There will always be disadvantage attached to it. Always remember that. That's the order. Now, I want to show you some things that have been caused by these vaccinations that have been coming out. Look at this video.
A nurse is vaccinated, but just minutes later, this happens.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Tiffany Dover fainted as she spoke to reporters at a hospital in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Now, friends, you get the point. This nurse was talking over after she got the vaccination. She went and talked in front of the media and she suddenly collapsed. Now, the media later on said that that's a normal sickness. Usually fall down and collapse. So that happen again. That may be the case, but I think otherwise. It's caused by the vaccination that she took. Now, because this is not the unique case. There are other cases that the similar things happen. And the side effects are not always the same, but it's sometimes even severe and sometimes it costs someone's life. Now look at these other cases that took place.
In America, a video of a woman suffering convulsions after receiving a coronavirus jab has fanned safety fears. You may find the images coming up now disturbing. Bran Griner's mother received the Pfizer vaccine. This was in Louisiana at the start of January. According to her son, she hadn't experienced any kind of health issues prior to having the shot. Griner described his mother's condition in an exclusive interview with RT.
I got it.
She said that the day afterwards she woke up with a headache, and she's had the headache every day since until today. Today's the first day she hasn't had a headache. But she started noticing the seizure-like movements in her leg, in her left leg first. And it was 3 days afterwards. And she was admitted to the hospital about 4 days. With she had no control over her legs when she was trying to walk. Doctors said they think it's the metals in the vaccine that is causing her to have the neurological reaction.
Well, Pfizer has not confirmed the case and said it was investigating. But it's not the first time concerns have been raised over the safety of the jab. Norway is currently investigating the deaths of dozens of elderly people who recently received the vaccine.
The doctor said it must be caused by the metals in the vaccines, the harmful substances, friends. That is what the spirit of prophecy is, and that is the truth. Even doctors can confirm to that. But because of the possibility that there can be a cure, let's just gamble with our life. Friends, do you think that is safe? Be my guest. But I would encourage you not to take it. This is my opinion. Now, there is one case. This is the Pfizer vaccines. Now let's go to AstraZeneca. Vaccines provided by Oxford University.
In some breaking news coming in right now, in an interview to an Italian newspaper, a top official in the European Medicines Agency has said that there is a link between the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine and blood clots. The EMA head of vaccines, Marco Cavalieri, said, and I quote, "In my opinion, there is a clear link with the vaccine," unquote.
Now, friends, you get the picture. Let's continue with our presentation. So they are saying that there is blood clot caused by the AstraZeneca medications. Vaccines that is killing a lot of people. That has a great side effect on people's body. This is one of the news agencies. Major European nations suspended the use of AstraZeneca vaccines. Berlin AP. A cascading number of European countries, including Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, suspended use of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines Monday report of dangerous blood clots in some recipients. Though the company and international regulators say there is no evidence the source is to be blamed. And now, friends, you can go through the entire code by yourself or go to the article as well. I put a link. There is side effects to it. Side effects that can cause death. Let's go to one of our own Adventist worker in Australia. This is taken from the Advent record. April 21, just this year, 2020, April 21, 2021. Tribute flow for much loved sanitarium employee. What kind of person? An Adventist sanitarium worker or health worker. Look, Janelle Norris is being remembered for a fun-loving, happy woman, a committed Seventh-day Adventist. Sorry, I think I made a mistake on the screen. It's a Seventh-day Adventist. Miss Norris, 48, died in John Hunter Hospital in Newcastle, New South Wales, on April 14 after developing thrombosis, that is in layman's term, blood clots, with the word there, low platelets count. The therapeutic good administration has confirmed that the blood clot was likely linked to the AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine she has received a few days earlier. And she lost her life. Friends, there's dealing with substances that can damage people's life. What agreement does the temple of God have with idols? Your body is the temple of God, and God's Spirit lives in you. Are you willing to put harmful substance in? Now, some people say that for the good of your neighbors, just take it. I'll repeat the same statement that Wagner said. How dangerous can you be around a community of vaccinated people? If they believe it, let them have it. Why should you get it to prevent the others? Now, on the question of saving your neighbors, what goes into your body has nothing to do with your relationship with your neighbor, but it has everything to do with your relationship with God. Daniel's purpose in his heart not to defile himself with the food that was found on the king's table. Do not defile yourself. The 144,000 of Revelation chapter 14 do not defile themselves, for they are virgins. So what defiles you? What you put into your body as well. And your body is the temple of God, and God's Spirit lives in you. If you destroy your body, God will destroy you. That is a biblical principle. And the Bible also tells us that you are not your own. You are bought with a price. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 19. Glorify God in your body. You are bought with a price. Your body is not your own. Don't be careless with your body, taking in harmful substances. And some people say, well, there is a possibility. You know, when white men first came to my country, they brought cards in. The card game was later called luck. You might win, you might not win, you might gain a lot, you might lose a lot. You are playing with luck. Friends, on the question of vaccinations, it's a luck. You do not know. Why? Why is it that some people receive cure, some people receive very severe side effects? It's because you do not know the kind of animal tissue that they have included. Some may be worse. Some may be clean animals. Some may have been done in good way. Some may have been done in bad way. That's why all the side effects will never be the same. Some may be different. One might die. One might get a loss of paralyzed leg. One might suffer another consequences. One might be healthy. But guys, are you trying to gamble with your life? I am not willing to gamble with my life, because my body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, temple of God, and God's Spirit lives in me. I'm never gonna gamble with my body. I'm gonna preserve my body. And guess what? COVID-19, should we just take vaccines? My dad got COVID-19. I told him what to do. Take the natural things. Exercise a lot. Exercise your lung. Take sunlight, vitamin D, vitamin C. Eat a lot of green vegetable, beta-carotene, antioxidants. It provides it for the body so that your system can remove all the harmful substances in your body out, bacteria, viruses in your body out. And he got healed. My wife got COVID-19. with 3 days he got healed as well. What's difficult there? We are living in an age of information and still people do not know what to do and are depending on drugs for cure. I'm so sad, but Adventists, we should understand the health message and treat the right way and treat people with the simple cure that God has prevented. Guard well our temple, because this is the temple of God and God's Spirit lives in it. If you treasure that and believe that, you are never going to take harmful substances into your body. Take care of your body well, because it is the Spirit. It is where the Spirit of God dwells. Let's close with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father in heaven, thank you for giving us this message. Help us to understand this truth, digest it. If I had said something that is not right, may you, through your Spirit, talk to those who are listening. And may you convert them, transform their lives, and make them prepared to meet you. God, help us in our individual decisions as we fight this battle of whether to take the vaccines or not. And in whatever we do, let us honor you in whatsoever we do, whatsoever we eat and drink. We should do it all for your glory. Help us, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.